Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha with Ice Cream Fitness here. And a couple days ago I did a video discussing why there isn't a best lift for any given muscle, and then people started asking me questions about isolation movements, so I want to address that briefly. But hold on, let me give you guys a bicep shot first. Hold on, can you guys see that okay? Okay, and I'm going to make this a response to that video I did so that you can see this in the context of that video. So when it comes to isolation movements, a lot of people seem to think that I'm anti-isolation movements, even though you guys see me doing curls and tricep extensions and side laterals even in some of my various training videos that I've done. So I'm obviously not anti-isolation. I just think that for everybody other than chemically enhanced bodybuilders who are peaking for a show, or chemically enhanced models who are peaking for a show, isolation movements need to take a secondary place in your training. Whether you're a bodybuilder, a powerlifter, strength athlete, the heavy compounds are going to be more efficient. Now, when do you actually need an isolation movement? And I would say when you've identified a muscle weakness for the athlete or a muscle imbalance as a bodybuilder or a physique artist. So if your triceps are lagging and your chest and delts are huge, then obviously you're going to want to do some extra tricep extensions instead of just adding more presses to build up your triceps in that case. And it's the same even with a power lifter there. If your triceps are really a weakness in your lockout on your bench press and you tend to exhaust your chest and shoulders with tons of pressing, you're going to want to come in and do some isolation movements. However, if you're doing it as a bodybuilder, you're going to want to do some tricep movements that work the tricep differently than your presses. Since presses tend to predominantly work the lateral and medial head, you're going to want to put some focus on the long head, so things that incorporate shoulder extension. And actually there are compound movements that do work the long head pretty efficiently, things like pullovers, but we're discussing specifically isolation. Most compounds do not always recruit the long head efficiently. So that's probably where you would want to put your focus. You want your isolation movements to address some performance element or part of development that aren't being addressed by your primary compound movements. And then for the power lifter, that may not be true. You might want to focus just on those two heads, the heads that are going to give you the most pressing strength at the lockout. So it needs to be based upon your goals and your individual needs for what you're trying to do and for your body individually. And while we're on the example of chest, shoulders, and triceps, when I get someone who, even though I think they're performing the lift incorrectly, and that's the problem, who tells me that bench press does nothing but develop their delts and their triceps and that leaves their chest lagging, well, what I would say to that person is, hey, great, you found a compound movement that will very efficiently build up your delts and your triceps, which means you can probably cut most of your overhead pressing and your tricep isolation movements completely out of your program and just add more bench press, because it's still stimulating some chest, and then come behind it and do a bunch of flies. So if you are truly that rare individual who cannot build their chest but builds their delts and triceps up, then doing a routine with tons of bench pressing and then adding flies in covers half of your upper body development. So while that would be truly unusual, and it's generally a case of not performing the movement correctly, you have found a solution. You have found two movements that will develop half of the muscles in your upper body. So you've found your sweet spot. And that's what I would tell that person who has that problem with a compound movement. If it builds multiple muscles up very, very well, then use it all the time, because there aren't that many movements that build up two muscles effectively. And then whatever is lagging, come back and finish it with isolation movements. And that should be the role of your isolation movements, to either refine your physique and fix weak points if it's aesthetics you're concerned with, or to bring up weak muscle groups in the kinetic chain if you're a strength athlete or some other form of athlete. And that is the role of isolation movements. And that is how I would recommend going about doing them. Alright guys, well that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.